Alright, we're going to pick up right where we left off yesterday. We cut yesterday short just because I had some stuff going on, but it's Monday, February 3rd. We're going to jump right into it. These are the boards we looked at yesterday. This King Queen 4 and the Ace 10 Ace 10 Deuce Mono. And now we're going to start right here, Ace 7 4. So going to be good equity for in position here. Probably, we'll say like 57. 33 range bet, I'm pretty certain is going to be our preferred strategy here. And big blind check raise frequency, I don't think it's super high on dry ace high boards like this. So, I would say like 12% maybe. Could be wrong with that, but check raise combos. Two pair sets. 5-6. Gut shots. Pref backdoor. So gut shots like with a backdoor draw are likely going to be preferred over gut shots that do not have a backdoor flush draw. Yeah, so I guess gut shots like the 2-3, 5-3, 5 deuce suited are going to be used. Like the lower 4x bluffs. Seems reasonable here. Term predictions. So on 2 and 3. On a 2, a 3. We'll just say 2, 3, 5. Are all probably going to be similar strategy. So these bring in some wheel straights. 5 also brings in the 6-8 straight. Some probably just like a 75%. So this is going to be like a medium frequency. 75%. Might even be a low frequency bet, because we're never going to be betting without... actually, medium frequency, 75%. It seems fine. On a 4, pairing that bottom card, lower frequency, mixing 75% 30. I don't think we're going to be over betting on that card. On the 6, bringing in some straights, 5-3, 5-8, some 2 pairs. Probably going to be similar to the 2, 3, and 5. We'll say medium frequency. Medium frequency, mix 75% and 30%. 7, lower frequency, mix 75% and 30%. I just don't think we're going to be over betting much when one of the non-ace cards pair. Don't know for sure, but 8 is probably going to be the same as a 6. So we'll just say 6. And then 9 through king are probably going to play similar here. Yeah, 9 through king. Here we can probably start to polarize a bit with no straights coming in. So we'll just say high frequency betting Mixing 75% and 150. Okay. Oh, and then on an ace. On an ace, probably gonna be like a low frequency, low/medium frequency, mixing 75% and 30%. Sure. Alright, let's take a look. Look at the preferred strategy first on this aggregate report. So ace 7-4 rainbow. Ace 7-4 rainbow, 33 mix. So it's not a range bet on this board. The EV loss of a range bets is a chip. So we are going to have some checkbacks here, so we'll go with 33 mix then. I feel like I would almost always just range bet this board, third pot. We'll take a look here in PO. I don't know, PO open. Oh, this is the wrong folder. We had a 7-4 rainbow, yeah. Wait for this to load up. It was a 7-4 rainbow, right? Alright. Super slow computer, yeah. A 7-4 rainbow. Alright. So in position equity is 56% on this board. We guessed 57. And we guessed 33 range bet. It's actually 33 mix. Decent amount of checking. Big blind check raise frequency. Let's look at the strategy first. So stronger aces are betting, can check with some of our weaker aces. And some of these just like air bluffs. All of our 7x is betting. Alright, so we bet. I'm going to be range betting this board a lot. I feel like anytime there's just an ace-high board versus big blind, I feel like range betting is never that terrible. So 13% check raise frequency from big blind. We predicted 12. So pretty close there. And let's look at the combos. So we said 2 pairs, sets, 5-6, open-ended. And then all the gut shots, preferably with a backdoor and the lower 4x combos. So here's like the lower 4x combos are raising at some frequency. Here are the gutters, the 5-3, the 5 deuce, 6-3. 5-4 is another one of the lower 4x hands. 7-4 2 pair, 7-5 raising pretty frequently. With middle pair in the back doors, 7-6 is the same. And our set 7-4, so some decent amount of 7x's coming in for a raise. Ace 7 2 pair, ace 4 2 pair, not actually top bottom pair not raising super often. With the back door, it's raising much more often than without. 9-6 randomly getting thrown in as a raise. Lower ace is just calling. King 5 of spades is not a hand I would ever raise from the big blind here, so that's interesting. frequency. Okay, so we were pretty spot on with our predictions in terms of what's being check raised. We didn't have any of these seven, like the non-two pair 7x combos that we did not predict, but it's just like sets, two pairs, straight draws, the lower 4x and stuff, all being raised. So we'll bet call, and we'll check our turn predictions here on this board. Strategy. Okay, so this is the strategy for imposition. And turn prediction. So for 2, 3, and 5, we guess to be a medium frequency, 75% sizing. And we were pretty off here. It's very low frequency betting on all of these cards for imposition. Up until like the 8 is kind of that cutoff point where we start betting closer to 50% of the time. But on all these low cards, we're checking like the vast majority, 60% plus in basically every situation. So a lot of checking for imposition on these low cards. So pretty bad. 3 through 8, we said medium frequency polarizing. There's a good amount of polarizing going on 3 through 8, but it's lower frequency up until the 8. So pretty far off there. Oh wait, I was looking at the wrong spot. 2, 3, 5, medium frequency 75. So 2, 3, 5 is a low frequency. 5 is mixing overbet and 75%, but on a 2 and 3, it's basically only overbet or check. On a 4, lower frequency, mixing 75 and 30, it is a low frequency, but we're mixing all three sizings. Overbet is most often used on that card. So 6 and 8, medium frequency, mixing 75 and 30 was our guess. 6 is a low frequency, mostly overbetting, mixing some 70%, and 8 is a medium frequency, and we're doing a lot of overbetting on an 8. It's basically the only bet size being used. On a 9, we'll go to 7 first. Lower frequency, mixing 75 and 30. 7 is a low frequency, but we're basically overbetting is the only size we're using on that turn. This is a spot that I just would misplay so much on it. Like without looking at this is not what I expected. Or you can just see how terrible my predictions were here. 9 through king. We guess high frequency, mixing 75%, 150. There's like no 75% being used. It's like check or overbet in a lot of cases. Jack is using some 30% or overbets. Weird why the spade is just a pure polarization, but the other cards are mixing in some 30%. Because there's no flush draw out there, so like I don't see why a spade makes that much of a difference compared to like a club or a diamond. I don't know. So king is just pure overbet. So yeah, so we were right with the higher frequency. I mean, it's really more of like a medium frequency. It's like a 50% check for all these. Then the ace, we said it would be a low to medium frequency, mixing 75%, 30%. It's a very high frequency bet, but we're basically just purely using the 30% sizing. So on an ace high board, imposition versus big blind, this might be just like a general heuristic where on an ace turn that pairs the ace, it's either just a check or a small sizing. That could be just like consistent across every ace turn on an ace high board. I'm not sure in these spots. But we'll screenshot this and import it. So that is... And this is a low draw potential board. Ace 7-4 Rambo. Turn results. we're down to medium draw potential with high card. Board we're looking at is King 6-5. So King 6-5 rainbow. Yep. Pretty similar board to King 8-6. Probably gonna be like the same. 57. Beer equity guess. Range 33 bets. Big blind check raise frequency on King 8-6 up here was 20%. So I mean, probably gonna be something similar on this board. Big blind flop check raise combo predictions. So strongest King X. Two pairs. Open enders. Gut shots. Weaker 5x and 6x with backdoor straight draws. So strongest King X, two pairs, sets obviously. Strongest King X, two pairs, good shots, weaker 5x and 6x with backdoor straight draws, sets. What else would be a check raise? Probably gonna be mostly this stuff, but it's gonna make up a lot. Like there's a lot of gut shots, so many gut shots and open enders and stuff on this type of board. So this will make up a good amount of the range. Now we'll do our turn predictions. So 2 through 4 probably be played pretty similar. Whoops, 2 through 4 probably gonna be lower frequency betting. Whoops. And just looking like at this board here, it's probably gonna be lower frequency, mix 75% and 150. I don't see any reason to go 30% on these cards, but maybe. So 5 and 6 are gonna be played similar here, I'm sure. Probably gonna be low frequency. Might be mixing all three sizes at varying frequencies, I'm not sure. And then we'll say 7 through 9 are the straight cards. To bring in straight still. We'll say low/medium frequency. Mixing 75% and overbet 10 through queen. It's gonna be some high frequency. Gonna be polarizing a lot on these cards, but I'm sure there'll be some 75% bets in there. Mixing over bets and 75%. Okay. King. It's gonna be very high frequency, I'm sure. Doubt we're over betting, so you'll probably mixing 75% and 30%. And on an ace, It's always going to be a high frequency bet card. We'll just say mix all three sizings. It's everything. All right, let's take a look now. So king 6-5 preferred strategy. Whoops. King 6-5 rainbow. So slow. Alright, king 6-5 rainbow. 66 mix is the preferred strategy here. And you can see the EV differential between 66 mix and 33 mix are just like, it's basically the same. Range bet right here is not that far behind. This is range check, which is the lowest. So these king high boards, like if you look at all the surrounding boards, king 5 is 33 mix, king 7-7 33 mix. All these other king X boards simplify to a 33 range bet. So just because it's like a king high board in this category, in this one case it prefers 66 mix, I'll probably just simplify this to be a 33 mix, this kind of board. And I'll often just range bet these boards 33% pot, which like the EV loss on a range bet isn't that terrible. So it's actually 66 mix. We'll just say 33 mix for this though. It's close enough just to make that simplification. Okay, so first we'll look at imposition equity. $33 mix. King 6-5 rainbow. Imposition equity only 55. So we guessed 57. 33 mix is the preferred strat. And checking relatively often. I wonder what combos like prefer a check here. Most combos are preferring a bet here, like the sets. Okay, yeah, so these are like the big hands that really favor a bet. Ace King really is kind of indifferent, which is surprising. I feel like be losing value often if you're checking Ace King. So like this seems like a fine spot to just range back. Like all the hands that prefer check are just like there's basically no difference in EV to like a 33% pot bet. So if Ace King checks this board, which, okay, so it's like Ace King off is checking very often. So if we check this back, and on like a favorable turn, do we raise Ace King then if we face a bet? So if big blind bets into us on the turn, which it's really never doing, it's like a range check even with these hands down here are the only hands that will be leading out. But so if we were to face a bet, does Ace King raise for imposition? No, it does not. Okay, aces would raise if we check back aces. 10-9 is raising. What the yeah, I don't know about this. And like ace 10 as well. And I guess Pio here is assuming that imposition is basically going to be checking all King X. So when we face a bet, there's just not a lot of King X. Which in practice, I'm sure people will lead King X from the big blind here. So the raises with King 10 might not be so, or with 10-9 might not be such a good idea. But yeah, I don't know. That's interesting for sure. Alright, whatever. So we'll just have big blind check now. Although, oh yeah, we should look at check raise frequency first and stuff. Alright, so check. In position bets 18. Big blind check raise frequency is 14%. And what we guess, 20%? Okay, so it's pretty low. I thought it would be more than this board, just because the 6 and 5 are more connected, more straight draws. But okay, so it's 14%. Our guess was, or these were our guesses for the check raise combos. So we guess it would be the strongest king X, 2 pairs, open enders, gut shots, weaker 5X and 6X with backdoor straight draws, and then the sets. So let's take a look what hands are raising. Versus bet. So strongest king X, the suited king queens, king queen off, never really raising. I don't know why like king queen of hearts raises. Like a pure raise with no heart on board, but then these other combos are just like never raising. Not sure about that. King jack. So then here are some of the like gut shots. Open ended 8-7. 8-6 is a pair backdoor straight draw. 8-5 pair backdoor straight draw. So like a lot of raising going on down in this area with these combos. 6-4 raising often, 5-4 raising often, 4-3 is open-ended raising often, 4-2 gut shot raising often. So most of the raises coming from these combos, 6-3, 7-4. Okay. Then king 6 2 pair, king 5 2 pair. Seems like these top pair, bottom pair, 2 pair combos are mixing in calls a lot more often than like top 2. Like top 2 seems to almost always be pure raising, and then top and bottom pair seem to do a lot more just calling on often. With a backdoor though, definitely raising more often. This ace 4 was a check raise we missed. Ace 4 with a backdoor flush draw. So there's backdoor straight draw, backdoor flush draw, and the ace over card. I guess makes sense here for a raise. What is ace 4 suited's raising frequency for big blinds here against middle position? Okay, so it's calling, so it's only raising like 30% of the time. Actually check on that, it's 3-betting. Yeah, okay, so like a third of the time. So these were the main combos we missed with our raises. Also ace 7, I guess it's basically same as ace 4 with the backdoor straight draw, backdoor flush draw combos. Ace 8 raising a bit as well with the backdoors. Okay, yeah, so these are the raises I would miss. The rest, I think, make enough sense. Alright, now we'll look at turn strategy. Check. Alright. Compare this to our predictions. So we guess 2 through 4 would be lower frequency, mixing 75% and 150. And that seems to be pretty accurate. Checking the majority of the time here for sure. And when we are betting, there's no 30% sizings. It's either an overbet or 75%. Spade favoring an overbet. Okay. 5 and 6, we guess would be a low frequency, mixing all 3 sizings. And that seems to be pretty accurate, with overbet being the preferred sizing when we do bets, but just checking most frequently. 7 through 9 we predict will be the same, low to medium frequency, which seems about right. The 9 is played differently. 7 and 8 seems to be played the same. 9, strategy changes quite a bit. So 7 and 8, we're mixing 75% in overbet. and it's going to be a low-ish frequency bet, doing a lot of checking on these cards. 9 is a more frequent bet, and it's basically just a pure overbet when a 9 comes. There is some 75% getting mixed in there, but mostly overbetting on this card. Now 10 through queen, we guess, will be high frequency, mixing overbet and 75%. That is accurate, but there's also some 30% being used a lot on a 10, mixing a bit on a jack. Queen is just a purely overbet. We can see on these cards we're checking less than half the time. 10 only 30%, jack only 35%. Queen a bit more checking going on, but when we do bet, we're going big with it. King, we said would be a high frequency, mixing 75 and 30%, which is pretty spot on here. Checking 30% of the time. When we do bet, it's either 75 or 30. And on an ace, we said high frequency, mixing all 3 sizings, and that is accurate as well, mostly using an overbet sizing on an ace when we do bet. I'm also probably going to do a series where after we make these spreadsheets for each spot, we're going to look into each spot in more detail and see, like, on an ace, like, which combos specifically are overbetting, like what our value combos are, what our bluffs are. But to keep these videos from being like 3 hours, that'll be like a separate series that I'll do once I finish filling out all these sheets. Oh, whoops. So this was a king 6-5 board. Alright, just going to import this quick, size it down, and then move on. But yeah, I think just doing this daily, just to see like what sizings are being used on what turns, like trying to understand why certain sizings are being used on certain turns. So just like looking at this, seeing how my predictions line up, and then at a later time going in and specifically seeing like, okay, on a 9, what combos are overbetting, what combos are checking, what are our bluffs, what's our value. I think it's just a great way to get a better, like a deeper understanding of these spots. I feel like it's important, which is one thing I've been improving on a lot, not just to see like what PO is doing in certain spots, but why they're doing it, or like why PO is doing certain things, and like just to have that deeper understanding. I feel like is what separates like really good players from just like good players. So that's definitely like the goal with this, just to get a deeper understanding of like what PO does and why. Okay, so we'll move on here to 10-8 deuce. This is a medium draw potential without high card. So 7-6 deuce was 53% equity from position. 10-8 deuce is probably going to be about the same, I would say. Seems fine. 53. Preferred strategy on 7-6-2 is 66 mix. Like on these lower boards, 66 mix is going to be used much more frequently than on like the high card boards that favor in position. On a lot of high card boards, this is going to be like a 33 range bet, 33 mix. On these lower boards, like the 2/3 pot size is definitely used a lot more frequently. So we'll get 66 mix here as well. Big blind check raise, 20%. So it was over here versus 62. Oh, I see, okay. So these were the results from this board. So versus 66% pot bet, it was a 9% raise, and versus a 1/3 bet, it was a 16% raise. So I'm expecting a similar, so we'll say like 10% to 18%, depending on, depending on the bet size. So check raise combo predictions on 10-8 deuce, so like 2 pairs, sets, open-enders, gut shots, 2x, the weaker 2x raises. We can say ace 4 and ace 5 with backdoor flush draw. So 2 pairs, sets, ace 10, king 10 maybe at some frequency, probably not often enough to put in here, especially if 66 mix is the preferred strategy. I'm going to look at the raise frequency versus a 1/3 bet and a 2/3 pot bet, just because even if 66 mix is the preferred strategy, like, you're going to face some 1/3 pot range bets against like some players, and like it's important to know what the raising frequency should be against like each of the different bet sizes. So we'll take a look at both. So ace 10, 2 pair sets, open-enders, gut shots, the lower 2x, ace 4 and ace 5 with backdoor flush draw, ace 10, seems reasonable enough. That's going to make up a lot of combos, and we'll see like which ones we are missing. Alright, turn predictions on this. So on a 2, we'll say it's going to be like a medium frequency. We'll say low/medium frequency. Probably mixing over bets with 75%. So now we are going to categorize based on like what cards bring in straights. So 6 is the first card that brings in a straight, because 7-9 gets there on a 6. So this is going to be 3 through 5 then. Likely going to be played the same. 3 through 5. Not too sure, because it's not going to be like a high equity card for position. So probably lower frequency. Whoops. Mixing over bet and 75%. 6 and 7 probably played this at least somewhat similar. The 7 brings in more straights, which might factor in to the strategy, but we'll see. So on a 6 and a 7, seems like it's just going to be low frequency. Probably a pure just 75% sizing if we are going to bet. I don't think we're going to have an overbet on these cards, and I don't know how great the 30% bet is here. I still might be using it, but I don't know. I don't know how like frequent that's going to be a sizing we use on these cards. So now an 8. Pairing the middle card. probably just gonna do a lot of checking, and then if we are betting, mixing 30 and 75. I don't think there's ever any overbetting going on when like a middle card pairs like this. It's just so good for a big blind that in position I don't think ever has a reason to overbet. Or like it just wouldn't really make sense like as an overall strategy. So on a 9. This is probably a low to medium frequency. And probably just small. Mix 30% and 75%. 10. 10 is probably going to be the same as an 8, I would imagine. Low frequency. Mixing 30% and 75%. So queen and jack complete straight. So jack and queen. They're going to be higher equity cards for in position, but they still do uncapped big blind. So we'll say high frequency. But I doubt we're overbetting, so probably just like high frequency, mixing 30%, 75%. How does a B keep getting typed out here? And then the king and ace. Just gonna be high frequency. We're gonna be mixing. We'll just say mix 3. I don't know if the 30% is ever gonna be used. Kind of feel like it's just gonna be like 75% or overbet. But if we look at the 7-6-2, like on this ace and king, ace is like playing pretty passively for some reason, and the king is a lot of betting but small sizings. So this could be wrong. But we'll see. So let's take a look now. 10-8 deuce. See what the preferred strategy is. 10-8 deuce rainbow. 10-8 deuce rainbow. So 66 mix was the preferred strategy, but it can simplify down to a range bet, and it's actually range betting 66. So it says mix 50-50. So it's probably mixing range bet 33 and range bet 66. So this is a spot we can range bet. So definitely make note of that. Well, first we'll look at the in position equity. Load tree. So we'll look at the range bets. 10-8 deuce rainbow. Yeah, so it is actually using this larger sizing quite a bit. So right here, this is 33 mix, 66 mix, and this is range bet. So range bet actually gives us higher EV than 33 mix. And range check is just not good on this board. Wow. So this is like a rare board where like a range 66 is a viable strategy. 10-8 deuce rainbow. Okay. I guess you just don't see that very often where range 66 is like a good strategy. Let's see what combos prefer a larger bet to a smaller bet. Everything's pretty indifferent. Deuces is the combo that mostly prefers large bet, which makes sense because we're not blocking any of the other pairs. Okay. So I guess if there is a board where range 66 can be decent, it's a board like this. So we'll look at big bond, or well, first we'll look at imposition equity. 57 is much higher than I guessed. We got 53. So it's 57 and actually range 66. What did it say range bet? Mix 33. And then we'll look at check raise frequencies here. So if we bet a third on this board, 20% raise frequency. I'll actually be right back. Gotta do something really quick. Sorry about that. Alright. So looking at big blind check raise frequency. Our prediction was 10% versus a 2/3 bet, 18% versus a 1/3 bet. So it's actually 21% versus a 1/3 bet. Okay. Versus a 2/3 bet, it's only 12%. Definitely important to note the frequency differential versus the c-bet sizings for big blind. And let's take a look now at what combos. So our predictions were 2 pairs, sets, open-enders, gut shots, lower 2x, ace-4 and ace-5 with backdoor flush draw, and ace-10. So versus the larger bet, doing much less raising. And so we'll look at these kind of, so open-ender, jack-9, prefers to have a backdoor. But that's a raise, 10-8, 2 pairs a raise. Big blind doesn't have 8 deuce or 10 deuce. Here the lower 2x, none of these are raising, but maybe against a 1/3 bet, these start raising more would be my guess. 7-6 gutter, preferring to have a backdoor. Just folding without a backdoor. Against a larger bet, like the lower end gut shots. Without a backdoor is just a fold. 8-7, no backdoor is being used as a raise. With a backdoor, just a call. 9-7, interesting that this is raising more than jack-9. Actually, I guess it's about the same frequency. I feel like jack-9 would be a preferred raise just with the overcard. So these combos against a larger sizing, pretty indifferent to raise or call. Probably going to be raising more versus a 1/3 bet. Queen jack gutters raising. Queen 9. King 9. That's interesting. King 9's raising. King 9 playing raise fold against this bet. Not a combo I would ever raise myself, I don't think. These lower pairs are starting to fold against this larger bet too. These are just going to be a pure call versus a 1/3 bet, I'm sure. Jacks, whenever big blind has it, raising. Ace-10 is raising. Not really. The offsuit combo, not really. Alright, let's look against a 1/3 now. Yep, now these lower 2x are mixing in some raises. Jack-9 more frequently. 9-7 is almost a pure raise now. 10-8. 8s and deuces, pure raise. Ace-4 with a backdoor is raising. We did predict some of this. Ace-5 with backdoor. Doing some calling. Ace-3 is in there as well. So we would guess that the Ace-4 and Ace-5 with backdoor. But it's more so Ace-5 and Ace-3. Or I mean Ace-4 and Ace-3. Ace-5 more of a color fold. Ace-10 now versus small bet, doing a lot more raising. And then all these 2 pairs gutters. full area. 7-6 never folding now. So strategy definitely, all these pairs are calling, no folding. Strategy definitely changes quite a bit. Facing a 1/3 size or 2/3 size. So let's play this as in position. Say we do a 2/3 range bet and get called. So big blind's going to show up to the turn with a pretty strong range here. One calling that bet. So we'll take a look at how strategy on the turn lines up with our predictions. So here we go, 10-8 deuce rainbow. Alright, so 2 we guess would be a low to medium frequency, mixing overbet with 75%. That's pretty accurate. Checking 56, 60, 60. So definitely is like a lower medium frequency, and we're mixing overbet and 75. 3 through 5 we said would be low frequency, mixing overbet 75%. It's about a pretty medium frequency here, about half the time, and it's a pure overbet on the 3 through 5. So these are cards that are not bringing in straights. So they're just not gonna be improving big blinds too often, if ever. Like big blind's not gonna be in there with 8-3, like 10-3, 10-4, 10-5, 2-3, 2-4, 2-5. They're just not cards that are gonna hit big blind often. So if we are gonna bet here, we're going big. So good to take note of. So instead of mixing overbet 75, it's just a pure polarization spot where it's overbet or check. 6 and 7 figured we played similar, but actually big differences in the strategy here. So the frequency is the same, but 6 is basically a pure overbet, 7 is pure 75%. And so the difference on these cards, 6 brings in 7-9 straight, but the 7 brings in a lot more. 7 brings in Jack 9, 6, 9, probably more 2 pairs. Big blind probably has 10-7. I don't know if big blind has 10-6 generally, or is supposed to have 10-6 in the spot. Okay, yeah, so big blind has 10-7 and not really 10-6. That's like the cutoff point for big blind defense. And that could very well be like a decent factor on why the 7 is never overbetting and the 6 is a pure overbet. And these are like medium to low frequency. On an 8, it's going to be low frequency, we guess, mixing 30%, 75. It's a very low frequency, basically pure 75% pot if we are going to bet on that card. 9, we guess, would be low to medium frequency, mixing 30%, 75. It's a low to medium frequency. It's a pure 75% pot bet, though, if we are going to bet on this card. And 9, of course, very connected with the board. Brings in a lot of straights, 2 pairs, so never going to be overbetting on a card like this. Not any overbetting going on these bigger cards. Very surprising to me. Let's take a look. So 10, we said low frequency. Mixing, and it's very low, and it's basically a pure 75% if we are going to bet. Wouldn't be a mistake to just do that. Jack and Queen, we said high frequency, mixing 30 and 75. Pretty accurate. Queen, though, is just pure 75 and overbet, not any 30% going on. Jack, we are sizing down sometimes. King and Ace, high frequency, mixing 3. It's high frequency, but we're never overbetting on these cards. I thought for sure there'd be some polarization on these cards, but I guess not. I guess it's just hard for big blind to have enough hands to like continue versus an overbet. So like our value range gets gets hurt pretty bad when we have like hands that hit these. I guess if we're betting 66% pot on the flop, because that's what this turn strategy is based off of, right? Yeah, so it's based off a 2/3 pot. So big blind's going to be like very middling connected if they're calling a bet. Like they'll have ace 10, king 10, hands like this that'll connect with these cards, but it's going to be a lot of this middling stuff. So that's makes sense for like the low frequency, low bet sizings. If we look at in position equity here, yeah, they're just such bad cards from position. So that's the reasoning for the low frequency betting. Interesting to see how this would change versus a 1/3 bet. So this is a in position turn strategy using a 2/3 bet on the flop. So these are all over bets. Medium frequency, low frequency. So like 7+ is never over betting. Let's see how this compares to in position turn strategy after 1/3 bet on the flop. Things don't change too much on the lower cards. Queen now, really not too much of a change. Queen's introducing polarization that wasn't there before. In terms of frequencies, everything seems relatively similar. Kings and ace mixing in some polarization, but mostly 75%. Aces mixing 30 and 75. So the turn strategy doesn't change too much, which I guess is good, so it makes it easy to continue. Depending on what strategy we pick on the flop, it's going to be played relatively the same way regardless. And we'll screenshot since it's a 66 mix preferred strategy, we'll screenshot the 66% bet turn strat. Alright, we got one more to look at then. Jack 9. I gotta go watch my hands quick. Be right back. Alright, last board here. I'm gonna have a session. Play a little bit. I guess we can't load this tree until we figure out what the preferred strat. So Jack, Jack 9, probably 57% equity, 33 range seems reasonable. Big blind check raise frequency could be high on a board like this versus a 1/3 bet. We'll guess 21%, just because it's two tone. The 9 and Jack are so connected. Big blind flop check raise combo. It's gonna be Jack X. Open enders, gut shots, flush draws. Is any 9x ever gonna want to raise? Maybe like some random 9x combos getting in there. Not sure about that. Maybe some lower pairs with a spade at some frequency. And also for these open-enders got shots, like they're going to want to have the spade to raise, or it's going to make it a higher frequency play with a spade blocking, potential flush draws in big blind's range. That seems reasonable enough for now. Term predictions, no overbetting. And these paired boards are a spot where I just am so unfamiliar with the turn play. Like, I didn't make any predictions on this 10-10-4. Jack, Jack 9, I would base my predictions off of this. This is such a different board from 10-10-4, though, that this turn strategy could be totally different. So we'll save us some time and I won't make predictions on this board. We'll just look at the results. And then just do some analysis. Wow, so this board was a 33.5% check raise frequency, which makes me think this is going to be a lot higher. So we'll say like 28% for this. Now we'll see what the preferred strategy is for this board. Our guess was 33 range bets, and it is Jack, Jack 9, 33 range bet. It is correct. This is 33 mix, 66 mix, range bet. Range check is definitely the worst strategy here. The other three are pretty similar in terms of EV. So we'll just go 33 mix as it was the preferred strategy. I'm probably just going to be playing a range bet on this board though, usually. So even if we pick 33 mix, it's just a range bet, 1/3 range bet. So I wonder if we look at the check raise frequency, it's 20%. Does that change at all if our strategy changes from 33 mix to range bets? This probably won't make a difference. I'm just kind of curious when I look at this quick. So if big blind knows we're range betting, it's raising even more frequently. And I just think this is a board in position is going to be range betting a lot. So this might be the better big blind defense strategy to look at, honestly. This is just so many people are going to play this as a range bet. So wow. So not a lot of just calling with these Jack X, some of these Jack X combos. Which is really surprising to me. It's such a high check raise frequency here, but it's so many. Like there aren't very many just pure raise combos. 10-8 is pretty close. Jack 8, like Ace Jack, of course. Jack 9 suited, Jack 8. Queen 8's getting in there with the back doors. Queen 10 preferring to have a flush draw or backdoor flush draw. King 10 at some frequency. Let's look at what the flush draws are doing. So higher flush draws just calling. Lower ones are mixing. These lower aces, a pure raise. The lower ace accents. These are all playing pretty passively, these lower flush draws. And now here we're raising ace jack, yeah, with the spade, makes sense. Ace 10 with the spade, interesting. So I don't know, it seems like we were pretty spot on with our predictions in terms of like what combos going to get. We had these smaller pairs with a spade, which is like a low frequency play, but they are in there. And then these are all the spade combos. Open enders with the spade is a way higher frequency raise than without a spade, which we did predict. So yeah, like all the draws without a spade are mostly playing call, with a spade are playing raise. So that's how you can kind of differentiate on which combos to raise or call in these spots. And all this stuff is just folding, unless we have a flush draw. King 9 continues, ace 9. Okay, so here, I was wondering if there was some 9x I'd be raising. Ace 9 is the only 9x. That's not a boat that's going to be raising at some frequency. Okay. So, these seem fine. And then we'll look at the flop results. So, in position equity here is 59, pretty high. 33 range. And the check raise is 25%. Check raise. And let's look at the turn strategy now. So our only prediction was no overbetting, basically, and that seems to be pretty consistent here. While ace is like 100% bet. So the lower cards that don't bring in straights are all the same exact strategy, pretty much. It's like a medium frequency, pure 75% bet. 7 starts bringing in straights, and our frequency goes down a bit, and we start mixing in some 30%. Then on the 8s, the frequency stays consistent, but our sizing is less 75%, more 30%, 9 barely any betting. On a 10, a lot of bettings for a small size, and that's the same for queen through ace as well. So on these paired boards, betting very often on the higher equity cards for imposition, but using a small sizing here. So on these cards, we're betting less often, but going 75%, and more often, but sizing down on these cards, just like in general, unless the ones that pair the board. Alright, so we'll screenshot this, paste it in, and wrap this video up. It's nice to look at those 4 spots, and then just to have all this information filled in. And I'm also going to do some videos where we just look through the boards we've already simmed and did predictions for, and then we're going to do like a deeper dive into them to just to like increase our understanding of what combos are doing what in certain spots. And Jack of Spades, 9 of Diamonds. Was it Jack 9 or Jack 9? It was Jack 9. So Jack of Spades, Jack of Diamonds, 9 of Spades. Oh, this one we can make a lot bigger. There we go. Alright, so that's it for today. If you checked it out, thanks for checking this out, and we'll be back tomorrow with some more spots. I might do some more sims, MP versus Big Blind, or maybe we'll just look at a new spot tomorrow. Like, I want to look at small blind 3-bet spots, so like out of position 3-bet pots will be very beneficial. Or I might just get the whole way through MP versus Big Blind, do like 5 boards for each spot, and then just like really look in depth just to get a really good feel for the spot before moving on to the next one. So not 100% sure yet, we'll see, but thank you for checking this out, and we'll be back tomorrow.